Tag Talk episode, whatever, it will start eventually.
Yeah.
You're listening to Tag Talk by Tartan Skirmish, here bringing you the most content-free content on NerfTube.
Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Tag Talk. This evening we will be sitting discussing the event at Dishforth that's just happened there, the one on the 25th of May. Joining me this evening are Spartan, Boneheed, Joker, who've been on the show previously, and new guests we have Ben and Darren. So, standard thing that we tend to do when we have new guests on the show is to give them a couple of minutes to tell how they got involved in the hobby. You want to go first, Ben?
Can do. I was never allowed Nerf blasters as a kid. They didn't want ammo around the house. It was only a good few years ago, maybe 2016, 17 or something, I bought my first one from Asda. It was just a Nerf Vagabond from Doomland series. I enjoyed it, and I started looking at some videos. I came across a Caliburn. I really wanted a Caliburn. So I ended up getting it. And then just thinking, I ended up getting a 3D printer after that and started printing out custom bits for it, started printing out other blasters. And then probably not long after that, well, I got a Spring Thunder sometime after that, which I thoroughly enjoyed. And the first ever Dishforth game I went to was 2020. Not long, obviously, before COVID. And I did that. I enjoyed that. I was doing games, like private games on the farm around similar time, but I liked the idea of a new area for Dishforth. And then start printing more blasters, and I got things like my Jury and my Milsig and my Diana, and I've kind of almost given up with the 3D printed blasters because they're just the work for me, and as I still turn up to Dishforth with them the last few times. That's all I've used, and same with the farm, to be honest. It's just that's pretty much where I am now.
And
So.
if that's you're fine with that there, what we'll do is we'll get Darren to do his bit. You might recognise Darren from skulking around in the background of various Fancy Impact Blaster videos. For those who are thinking, I recognise that mug. On you go.
Nerfing probably started for me with probably a lot of people, general plinking around the house and in the garden with the kids, and other probably other adults of similar sort of age level, like Ross, say no more.
Adults.
And that expanded to tweaking and trying to get a little bit more out of said standard Hasbro armories back then. And that then led to TBR finding, or Ross finding out about gun, mentioned it to me. So shamelessly, me and Ross headed off across to Leeds to see what this gun thing was all about. I can't remember which gun it was, but it was one of the low ones. I think it was in the teen numbers of that particular gun. And considering we've just, I think it was last month, had gun 54, gives you an idea of how far back that was. Also considering that there was obviously considerable length of break time scale where nothing was on because of the said pandemic. Thoroughly enjoyed gun, running around like an absolute prat, plinking darts at and foam at various other adults that were there to let off steam and generally relive your youth again, being idiots, playing with toys, etc., etc. That expanded. Then we started looking further around and finding other events. Stumbled across Discord, and pretty much that is where it all sort of like exploded. And the rest, as they say, is history. And we met all the other guys and newer guys, as said, such as yourself, Dave, and Bonehead and Joker and Spartan probably later on, when obviously Dishforth started becoming a thing. When that was first introduced to us by, back then it was Crane and Big Man Nerf that managed to start a liaise with Ace Strike, as they were formerly back then, before they started splitting and going off their separate ways. That then opened up to the Winter Cobs and Cobs down south with Games of Foam, and again, friend base grew and grew, and you started meeting Ben and Chris and Nerf Shack and Kev and all those other equally loony people running around, being very responsible adults, running around with toys and shooting each other. And that's pretty much brings us up to now. We had to go at trying to run our own events as well. With briefly, we had 3, maybe 4 events of INW, Impact Northwest. They were thoroughly enjoyable and a good success, but unfortunately, like you say, the pandemic hit, that put a halt to them. And then before that ended and lifted, the site was lost, because the owners packed up and decided, no, can't do this, because obviously they still had fees and rent and all that still to try and find and cover. So they folded. So we lost that site, and we've never really managed to find somewhere, as more and more people are also finding. We've lost other sites. The guys down south have lost sites, etc. So we've never really found somewhere anywhere else really to sort of like fill that part. So from that, and still wanting to contribute and try and assist in the hobby as much as possible and push as much as possible, FIB was funded, or founded, I should say. And yeah, here we are. Up to today, pretty much. That pretty much is a brief summary of how it all started.
Nice. Well, we only have James for a limited period of time this evening, so what I'm going to do is hand the mic straight across to him so that he can get talking all of his points out then, and then afterwards we can all talk rubbish afterwards. So, on you go, James.
Well, we'll start Saturday, to be fair. We'll start the event we've just gone. So we tried something different. I've been trying to try something different now for the past 3 years of running events, which was multiple teams at the same time, not just 2 teams. We're trying to have multiple teams run around at once, all with the same objective, potentially looking in the future of different objectives so that you're clashing while just going for different things. So that was the first challenge of the day. And I tracked the numbers all the way up through and was kind of looking at 16, 17 people. So I prepped games for 4 teams of 4, 3 teams of 6, all different numbers of teams ready for the day. So we started that day off, and kind of as a run of events for that day, we started with a bit of a light-hearted domination round, just to get everyone warmed up and in the field, which we didn't need warming up, to be fair. It was definitely warm enough when we were down there. Just run around, shoot each other for 20 minutes, get yourselves back in the feel of it, get everyone in. And I like a nice warm-up game. Gets people up and going before you start getting the real competitive stuff. Which we did afterwards. We did a nice collection game with the good old water bombs, not filled with water. Much to everyone's joy. Every time I say they're not filled up. We then took a bit of a longer break with it being quite warm, give everyone the time to get some fluids in them, refill ammo, because everyone was pretty much dry again after those 2 games. And we jumped over into some dice domination. We kept the 4 teams in there, which was a bit fun, a bit of chaos, but we'll be moving forward, dropping that down to to 2 teams again. So you got a bit more variety on your spawn points. All that we got was exactly what I thought was going to happen. We got alliances between teams. And the winning team would be the only team that was willing to double cross and keep rolling dice against the other team. It was the only reason that they won in the end of that one. So well done, Red Team, for being traitorous people and traitorous players in the end. Joker and Boneheed, you may have guessed we're on the Red Team. We then took a nice lunch and we jumped back to 2 larger teams again. So at this point we had 2 teams at 8, I believe we're at. So quite good numbers. And we did utilising Ben's prop, thankfully, for bringing, because mine did not work and I'm contacting the supplier about. Using a bomb prop essentially with the code that you had to type in, which I'm well aware is going to be a talking point long after I'm gone and probably for many years to come. I can already tell. All right. Where in the morning I was there particularly early and I proceeded to stick up over 60 numbers around one of the play areas in the Big 5, and then put another 4 numbers up across different areas with a bit of fun, lines of kids' nursery rhymes. So that you had to not only find the numbers within all the other numbers, but also work out where it sat within the nursery rhyme to get the code. And then you had 20 minutes when we started the game to go and find that, and then get the code in before essentially the fake bomb went off and detonated in our bar area. It felt like a fitting place to put the bomb kit.
Wait, it was a fake bomb.
Well, for now, real ones later. Make it spicy on the day. We did that twice, obviously swapped to get the 2 teams in to have a go. That's where incidents occurred and some of us got shot more than others. Definitely more than others.
Some people who deserved it more than others.
Some of us did not deserve it till we shot David. As an organizer, I find myself and make the games both fun, enjoyable, and challenging.
Tree.
Nothing. I never said it was in the buildings.
3 count, 1.
Yes, thank you. I never at any point said the numbers you need are in a building. I only said they are in areas of the buildings. If it helps, the first team also didn't find the number despite walking under it, I should say, multiple times. Literally, we were right underneath. After that, we did a classic game I like to finish on. We did our pushback game in the Big 5, where it kind of run that nice U-shaped sequence right the way through. It's a lovely game to finish up on that one. So it kind of rounds up your day, where you kind of do, yes, your challenge is to try and do it in the fastest time possible.
Yeah.
However, you'd still have that nice, it's flatter, it's not quite as harsh, physical-wise to finish on.
Pushback
and gives you
is
excuse to throw your smokes and bangs around.
Yeah.
Finish them off, which I would like to point out throughout the day. Definitely a lot more smokes and bangs going off throughout the day. I think it's a grown every time we do these talks. Like I say, we had more than last time, so next time I'm expecting to be I can't hear anyone anymore because there's lots of bangs going off.
It's just going to be an entire cloud. We are going to be playing within a cloud.
Yeah.
It just there was at one point, I think it was one of the bomb games at one. No, the pushback. There was just 4 smokes just around the one building. I'm like, wow, that's just.
It was the
No one
bar
can see each other.
it was the bar in the one where the blue team was defending, because I threw out 2 smokes and somebody else threw out, I think it was yourself, Darren, who threw out a couple of smokes. Except I bobbled the throw and the smoke started coming back into the building. I'm like, that's going to be awkward in a couple of minutes, you know.
Isn't it nice to have a lovely organizer who kicks it to one side and also sets it on fire at the same time?
we were very appreciative of that. I think pushback's a great way to end any event at Dishforth, because naturally, you find that towards the sort of final games, the energy levels naturally drop, and with pushback, there's that drive to constantly try to keep the enthusiasm and momentum up there. So it's naturally good to try and balance out.
Oh no, David's got a visit.
Cut there, aren't we?
Oh no.
Balancing out the lack of energy versus keeping the momentum up.
It does, yeah. It means you've got almost, you get a bit of a, is it a break for your defending team who don't have to like be quite as rapid in pushing in? They've only got the 1 life and the hit, they're out.
Yeah.
So you kind of get a bit
Absolutely.
of a break from that team. We make sure you have a bit of a break anyway beforehand. I suppose it just means the first team going has the less break.
Yeah, I mean, I find with that particular game type, it's a bit more relaxing on the defending side, even though you are watching every single corner for people shooting you. You almost get a bit of a relief once you're tagged because, I can go and chill out for a couple of minutes.
I'm going to go back. I'm going to chill and wait. Oh no, he's counting down. I'm going to go in again.
Whereas when you're attacking, it's go in, attack.
Push,
I've been
push,
tagged.
push,
Back
push.
to spawn. Go back. Go. Yeah. So you're constantly moving around.
I think there was one particular moment on camera when Ross managed to sort of run in after everybody, tag them all, and sort of got tagged himself. And then,
He'd
of
been
course,
hiding around the back the
there's just this
entire-
chain of people
that
running
section.
back to the spawn point to then run back into the building to claim it.
Yeah.
I go back to spawn right now!
Yeah, but we've got to respawn.
They didn't realise TVR was still alive because they went into the building.
That's definitely in my footage. Yeah, because we thought we'd got Ross, and there was a kind of moment where everyone's like, "Well, we tagged you," and he's like, "I've not been hit this particular thing." We're like, "Right, run, everyone, come on, let's
Everyone
go."
run back, respawn quick.
So I think the big thing that I wanted to talk about with this was how we felt the 4 teams games worked
The morning.
in the morning. I have previously said that I am very much in support of multiple teams with different objectives, sort of asymmetrical gameplay, I believe it's called. I know we didn't do asymmetrical, we just had multiple teams with the same objective. I thought the format worked very well. I think the skeleton structure did not necessarily support the balance.
No, that one didn't. That's why
Um,
you got that alliance and you just got a top-down battle.
mhm.
Yeah,
did
I even think three.
each of
I know a
us
couple of people
feel?
said 3 teams. I think 3 teams would be a stretch in there as well because you've got nowhere for that 3rd team to really spawn
Mhm.
without getting shot on the way out.
I think the big issue with that for me was that because I was in the red team and we were directly opposite the blue team, but we were in the open side of the skeleton. So from our spawn point, we could see their spawn point, and we kind of had a bit of a if we're beside
Gentleman's agreement.
what we started off with is if we're this side of this wall, you can't shoot us, but if we're that side, you can.
Yeah.
But the problem was even at that side of the wall, there was literally waist high cover on both sides. So I was just emptying my Phoenix in the general direction of the enemy team, and they were doing the same back, and we weren't getting any closer to either of the dice. I think it was just too open on that one side. So I think if you'd got maybe one team spawning in the middle of that area, and then maybe move that dice and have the other 2 in the top corners where it's a bit enclosed, that might work a bit better. But
I think the numbers were different. The bigger numbers made a huge dynamic on that one because last time we did it, I think it was 5 aside or 4 aside, and it was much more kind of rapid. Maybe it might have been 6 aside, but you had the option of spawn at the top or the bottom, and that created your kind of 3rd dimension coming in. So you weren't just at each other; you could come down on top as well. It's always one of those ones. You try it, you see what works, and you go back and go, it didn't work. We'll try something different next time.
And
Yeah,
that's
well,
it. I think
you've
it was
got
worth
to.
a go.
Yeah.
I think the 4 teams worked very well in the first 2 games. I thought.
Yeah.
It was interesting in the first game, particularly because I was trying to be all tactical and sneaky, and then I'd get shot in the backside because I was expecting teams to come from that way, and they were coming from that way, and they were just everyone was sort of converging in the middle. So that definitely worked. But yeah, the skeleton area, I think, probably just a little bit too
small.
Yeah, maybe asymmetrical, but also a little bit small as well.
I think 2 teams in the skeleton would be sort of the max you could feasibly get away with.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. In the skeleton area, the 4 teams certainly didn't work. For me, in my opinion, I think the skeleton area, because it's quite a small area with a big open space in the middle, I think it's definitely a 2-team space. But having said that, again, it's definitely a 2-team space, but 2 small teams space. Because again, if we had the numbers we had on this Saturday just gone, split into 2 teams, again, I think that would
be the same
it
Same
would have
amount,
shown
isn't
it
it?
was, again, too small of a space with that number of people. Like you say, previously, either last month or the month before, we had a very similar game, but we had 4, maybe 5 per side. I think that is perfect for that space. Whereas the big 6 and the big 5, obviously being a lot more open and bigger and stretched out, they can support bigger teams, as we've run multiple times, well, you've run multiple times, and also from this Saturday just gone, it does support the 4 teams because there is still significant space
You've got to
between
cross a
all
lot to
4
get to
teams.
each other
Yeah.
after you spawn.
You can't
Yeah.
literally stand at your spawn and literally pick off 2 of the other teams, which we could do in the skeleton area, which is why it's like, well, to a certain point, it started getting to a point of like, and the point of this is, oh, I've been tagged, step back, respawn. Oh, I've been tagged again, step back, respawn. So yeah, but Big 6 certainly supports the 4 teams, and that was a very, very good dynamic. Quite a few times I would advance on either Spectre or Green Hornet, manage to tag them or witness them as I'm trying to get them actually being tagged by somebody else, run around the corner straight into the path of 2 others coming straight at me from, I think, what was the yellow team at the time.
Yeah.
Pooping myself and going, oh, flip flop, and running away as quickly as I possibly could, back around the corner. But yeah, the Big 6, certainly. It was.
I think that's why we ultimately ended up making the gentleman's agreement in the skeleton area that, you know, the blue team and red team just teamed up, and then the yellow and green teamed up, because then we were both on opposite sides of the field. We were both attacking sort of diagonally, and it was that centre building in the skeleton area that was the main focus of fire from that point on. You know, there was foam flying everywhere, there were grenades flying
green
everywhere,
team.
just in that central build.
Right on their
building.
spawn.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah.
If I could quickly jump in though, so we're all sort of universally in agreement that the location didn't quite support the gameplay. How did we feel about the actual game itself, 4-player dice? Because dice is a universal favourite, I think. Dice is Dishforth's equivalent of Flux. Okay.
Yeah, it's a hilarious game. It literally is. Absolutely hilarious game. It's pure giggles from the minute James starts shout go, and you can try your absolute hardest, be as stealthy as you want, tag multiple players, get to the dice, roll it to your number, manage to get away with it, and even sometimes retreat without getting hit, literally to turn around and see the thing rolling across the grass or the concrete, and you're like, oh god damn it. It's purely
sneaky.
It is purely an out-and-out giggles game. But again, as we've already touched on before, the numbers have to be right for that area.
Yeah.
I think somewhere like the Big 6 would probably work better for a 14 dice game. And the reason I say that is because, I'm not a big fan of domination style games like dice in general. I'm more a shoot everything that moves potato. But with the dice game, you can play on the Big 6 a little bit more tactical, because you've got a lot more cover. You've got a lot more angles of attack. And with 4 teams, with 4 dice, you know, you've got infinite possibilities. You know, you can have one person defending and someone else trying to flip other ones. And I think you've just got a lot more. There's going to be more opportunity for action, more opportunity for point scoring on a bigger area. But absolutely 4 teams, because then it's not just, you know, it's not just a flux tile that you flip to one color or the other. You've got a bit more kind of mental arithmetic to, right, where's my number?
That is the best bit to watch sometimes in that game is, I've lost my number, it's there it is. All I'd say is it's not necessarily just 4 dice we'd be looking at in the Big 6. There are 6 buildings. There's space for a lot of dice.
But again, that's more opportunity for tactical play and more opportunity for, you know, getting more tags, because do you just cover your dice? Do you cover 2 dice? Do you
try and approach another dice to try and win it?
The one thing I would say about maybe the skeleton that you could also consider, rather than tuning down the number of players, is perhaps doing a super low power round. I'm trying to see if you, because
you gotta get close then.
Well, like a CQB style thing, but with more
people.
because
the CQC area was out of play, unfortunately, this time. I believe I've been in it once before, and that has a lower limit. I believe it's 130.
Yeah, we knocked that down to around 100, 130. So I've
So-
seen some Harriers in there, which are a bit spicy when you're less than 6 feet away from each other. 90,
yeah.
79.
I think maybe just doing the whole, for want of a better phrase, pistols only,
Yeah.
or like just sort of a low power. I know it's just one of those things of rather than writing off the skeleton.
Yeah, it's a
for what
potential
we're
to
against
reduce the
entirely.
power, so it's an effort to actually now you got to get to approach each other.
Yeah.
It would
What-
combat the range.
Just on the subject of, because of the layout of it, I think one of the things I wouldn't mind trying would be what a game type that I would sort of like the assault. We have the pushback, which is the
Yes.
okay, but if you were to have it, I don't know how you would necessarily work it out, but I would be curious to see, even just as a trial, to see what it would be like to have one team essentially defending that area
We have
and
done it.
having, oh, well, there we go.
We've
Okay.
done it. I'm trying to think if Ben was there or not when we did everyone in the middle of the skeleton structure and the scaffolding and said, right, survive as long as you can. You got three lives basically.
Yeah, the lives came from how well or like how well or badly you did on like one of the previous games.
Yes.
It was essentially like, me, Tony, Andy, and a couple others. I can't remember at the time. Basically, just sitting in the middle and just getting picked off because there's like 4 different
There's a lot of
directions
different
that the
angles.
attackers can come from.
Be interesting to see if we put more shields in there. If we had more shield users,
Mm,
you can start to block off different angles.
mhm.
Yes and no.
I
It
find
depends
like
on
Romans with Nerf guns.
it depends on what ammo people are carrying. Like if a lot of people are carrying megas or grenades, shields are just as ineffective.
Yeah.
Really, as just no cover because I've made it clear before. I carry 3 grenades on me. If I come across a shield, I'm not afraid to chuck even all 3 of them. Like if I need to.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I think that's to get onto the sort of shield topic later on in the thing. Just one thing I did wanted to say was, have you considered for the water bomb game having more than one receptacle that the water bombs are
Yes.
stored in? Because to use Big Six as an example, there's 2 crossovers.
There is.
Okay, and I would be curious to see about having because you've got the teams in the rectangular corners, you 2 crossovers, okay? Because if you have a limited amount in each, it's a case of it becomes a race
One runs out, you've got to go the
to
next
get
one.
them.
What
Then you've got
can
to try
happen
and
though,
Mhm.
because I've done it before, not with the water bombs, we did it with different ones. This has gone back a couple of years. You end up with you kind of 2 teams, it was 2 teams at a time spawn, and both go at and almost pick one. And 4 teams, I think you'd almost have essentially two
Okay.
team battles will be going
Yeah,
on over
I could
the
see
2
that.
different ones.
Yeah.
So the reason we left it as one is to try and force all 4 teams to kind of converge, which is exactly what was happening on every time you came over the verge. It was at least 2 to 3 teams coming head to head at each other. It literally becomes a whose tactics are better,
Mhm.
and who has most people behind them, and who has a medic behind them who can revive them.
If you, instead of having it at the 2 crossovers, if you were to have it behind the equivalent of the middle buildings,
Yes,
because I think you were behind whatever number it was, but the
we're
building
behind the one building. Yeah,
yeah, and if you were to have another pool across the other side of it, it would still sort of force that combat, because it's a case of it's enough there to basically mean that not everybody's to converge on one point, but there's still everybody's going to be going in the same direction.
the other side of it as well, though we've already talked about a little bit, is we know 4 teams works in that area now,
Oh yeah,
which
absolutely.
means asymmetrical gameplay becomes an option that we've never done before. So we
I
get the chance of having so many teams are collecting this, but other teams' objective maybe to collect something else.
Yeah.
And if the teams don't know their objectives of their other teams, that makes it even more interesting.
that would
Brace yourself for
certainly
July, is all I'm going to say. If we get good numbers again, that becomes an option for us in July.
That's
If we do
what you
keep
could also have.
decent numbers around 16, 18, I can start to look at that style and going, okay, what other games within games within games, and start to build layers up.
I mean, what you could do with there as well is you could have potential dummy objectives. So we don't know whether we know what we've got to collect. We don't know what the other teams have got to collect. So we might find something that no one's going to collect, and if we're then wasting time defending that, I'm probably giving your secrets away, James. I'm going to stay
A
quiet.
little bit,
No,
but it's not really a
it's
secret. It's something to
something I
brace
would do.
yourself for. I'll put objects in the areas. I'm going to make it really clear, in the areas around parts of the site.
In the
Right?
trees, for example.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily within a building.
So the one thing that I would think of at that point is, because I've never really been around the site except through the safe zone, is there a way to get between the big 5 and the big 6 without
Yes.
going through the safe zone?
Yeah, through the skeleton structure.
Ooh.
So we have done, if we have the numbers high enough, maybe we could have gotten with the numbers you had at the weekend. I would love to do a pushback and assault. So you push back starting from big 6 all the way back through, assault on the skeleton structure, round, and the actual pattern of the site goes big 6, skeleton structure, up to the comms tower, along the convoy field, and down through big 5. Is the actual shape of the pushback and the way we kind of have the site designed as it stands right now. Obviously, the site's changing quite a lot every time. You guys notice it when you come in and see there's new bits of cover or the ever-growing pile of pallets that are being prepared, which again is going to be new structures, new covers. So it's always, I always have to have a walk around before I know you get there and go, okay, are the games I planned actually going to work today? Or has something changed? I need to flip something over on the dime straight away. But it would be nice to do a kind of bigger pushback, even if you do have that stop and walk set up between areas. Your timing's going on all the time. You just pause your timer when you get safe from the skeleton to go at the big 5. Okay, right, and then push around there again. But we've also, with numbers like that, done variations on pushback where you could go from the convoy field side of big 5 and so you got to capture those 3 buildings first. Doesn't matter which order, just those first 3. Buildings 1, 2, and 3. Then capture building 4. Then your bar's obviously your final big finale that everyone enjoys.
I think that's the version of pushback that I've played the last time I was at Dishforth. Was
Yeah, I think it was
1, 2, 3 in any order, but all 3 of them, and then into 4, and then into 5.
That's it.
Which,
and that's exactly what I'd like to do. Even things like, to make it obvious, I can just essentially tape smoke grenades to the outside wall. So when you've captured it, you just pull the pin off the smoke grenade. It's going to point it up. And then it just makes it clear that building's captured. So we can start to, if again, like I say, it's a numbers game almost for that kind of game style. Better the numbers, the better the version. But it would be nice if in July, the next event, we've got, say, 16, 18 people. The afternoon would be just pushback. That 6 into skeleton and across.
yeah, I mean, it's that's the big thing, is we're now getting into summer where you've got events clashing with other events, because you've got Games of Foam are doing their scheduling down in Essex. You've got Foam Fest that's sitting in the middle of August.
I'm not doing anything in August.
And you've got that's what I'm saying for that 3 weeks, because like, oh yeah, we've got Dishforth on the 20th, and then FTT. I want to call it FTT Superstore. It's not called that. Superstore was Games of Foam's thing. It has a name. In Dunfermline, then into Foam Fest, and then into 28 Darts later, which currently is looking to be the next again weekend, and you're just like, oh god.
And then you got the Bob Shack.
That's at least in
September.
September. There's at least a paycheck between.
There is at least a paycheck between that one. But
Yeah.
just kind of support that, because I know it's busy. We'll probably do July. Probably not one event in August, because I'm conscious a lot of people will be preparing the wallets ready for Bob Shack, or kind of be empty at that point. So we'll take a break. Bob Shack's at Dishforth
already.
Yeah, but
already. So we would probably take a break from August, September, and then back in October for a lovely Halloween event.
So wait, no June?
Unfortunately, I'm not here in June. I'm
right.
at the end of June.
No,
I have to keep my wife happy and let me continue to support you guys.
Yeah. Happy wife, happy life.
Happy wife, happy life. That's what I'm saying.
I think there is also an invitational in August. I think it's the same day as Foam Fest for those who can't make it. That Blind Geek is running, but I think that's an invite only. So yeah, there's that one as well. So it's definitely the case that August is going to be quite a busy month, or July, August, September will be
Yeah.
quite busy for people.
Definitely going to be quite a busy period, but we that's the nature of the hobby. You know, it's a hobby where running things outdoors is just not something that's conducive to running around with snow on the ground.
You just got to take it in the summer and just go, right, let's go, let's do everything, bam, get it out of the way. We have run events in December before. We've done it. It's not something I'll do again because that site, you can imagine, there was quite a few slips, trips, and falls. On
Yeah.
Saturday when it was reasonably dry, not bone dry, but not too bad. Yeah,
Don't
imagine
worry
that
about
site in the ice.
I actually managed to make the entire event without falling. I was so impressed.
Don't
Bendy.
Wasn't
say
the
that.
case
The
for
universal
everyone, though,
theory.
was it?
Oh! Oh! You alright?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hand up.
By the way, you're both dead. Just saying.
Still got your ankles.
Alright.
You okay?
Oh! Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Just making sure this is a safe area for your mum.
Well, tripped over that, I think.
Yeah, I'll make sure to mention this.
Nothing
to
broken? Nope.
Nope.
I was more worried about my phone in my pocket.
Good.
Now, if we have, because I'm very conscious of the time just now, things I wanted to check in with was this event again used the Airsoft Run app. Okay.
Yes.
That was the first time that I used it. I believe you'd worked out a few more teething issues and then also experienced a few other issues.
Yeah, a few new issues, yeah, to do with the time and how it's set up, and then it added time on and had to take time off again to fix it later on. That was why the first game, the domination game, the first game didn't really work because it for some reason decided we're going to wait an hour before I actually launched the game on the app for you. So it put us on break for an hour, which I realised when we were physically there about to start the game. But again, it's one of those where I now know looking at it before I launch it, I need to double check the time and almost not plan as rigidly. I suppose I had that game planned out for that we start bang on 10. This is when all the breaks are going to be, and it's all planned out. And I planned that out normally a week in advance. I planned that out 11 o'clock the night before to work it out. Thinks I'm conscious you had the likes of Darren, who'd come straight from the airport as a trooper, pretty much, to come and play. Let's give them time to get ready. Let's get a good safety briefing. So we had a few newer players to the site, a few kind of old returners to the site. So let's get everything up to date. So that's really lessons learned for me. Just double check all the times and then go, right, okay, that's ready. That's live. Let's do it.
Step 1, load gear. Step 2, load mags. Step 3, delay schedule. Step 4, don't listen to the briefing.
Step 5, grab different gear because I've changed my mind. Everyone does it. Everyone goes, I'm gonna take this one instead.
Step 6, look in a tree.
Don't forget
Three.
Don't forget to look in trees. Darren is gonna be down the next site every time. Like,
Even
Gotta
when there's
check.
no objective to look for, Darren's going to be checking the trees.
I'm gonna just put stuff in the trees.
Put some in the
in July.
trees, yeah.
Just stuff, right? Not even important stuff. Just like, hi, hello, Darren. Is that you? Just on all the trees.
Just a picture of him.
And of course,
Oh.
the final
Yeah.
step, just because it was the 25th of May, make sure you know where your towel is.
Yes.
Indeed, yes. Actually, just quickly
knew where my
to
towel
clarify that, the only reference we caught was during the diffusal code
Yes.
42. Was that actually the only reference on the entire day?
That was the only reference I could squeeze in, yeah. I had planned to see if I could get hold of some sock grenades, but realised I didn't have any old socks. There was a few things I was going to try and do. I was going to even look at QR code scans and put loads of references within the numbers. So some of them were numbers, some of them were QR codes. So if you actually had the app and scanned it, you'd get little references there as well. It's just a time game. Just did not have the time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I as a first time user of the app, it wasn't off-putting, but it certainly wasn't as intuitive as I would have hoped it would have been.
No, it's not an intuitive app. We did work out, we worked out after the first game when people were showing, okay, if you don't have it on the battle map, then lock it. That seems to be a real key thing
Mm-hmm.
that we learned halfway through the day again today. I think it was Darren, it was you and Ross, I noticed weren't appearing, and that's when we figured it out, because it was on the normal screen. If you had to go battle map, all of a sudden, people started popping up.
Mm.
Like daisies everywhere.
It's certainly something that I also didn't find it tanking my phone battery, which I know somebody, I think was it Blue or somebody last time?
Yeah,
His phone
Blue
is dangerous.
tanked his whole battery.
Yeah. I had originally intended to have it actively connected and visible during the event, so that I could take an eye on it. We were running a little bit late by the time we got down there. So we just thought, you know what? No, it's not critical for happening during the day. I'll just get the battle map up, stick my phone in my pocket, and I certainly wouldn't have any, even if you don't actually want to actively use the app and you're just simply content for providing tracking for yourself there, I wouldn't be afraid of it tanking my battery. Because I think I genuinely maybe took 20% off my battery the whole day, you know.
I mean, it
And
tanks my phone battery purely because I have it set sitting on my arm on all the time, so I can see you guys run about the map.
yeah,
I think that's the
That
thing.
is the beauty of it, is being able to see where everyone is at any one time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for me, it's the passive usage, which as the players, that's probably better for us because we're not constantly, checking our phones and
Yeah.
and seeing where people are, or trying to use the very, what I found in the first game, quite ineffective perks, like the
The
mortars and
perks,
stuff.
which did not work when we first tried
No.
it.
But I'd got my phone just in my pocket, and I occasionally felt a vibration when it was like a transition
games.
between rounds, or
Yeah.
Sometimes when you entered the domination zones and stuff like that, it would vibrate. But I left the site, my battery was on 66%, so 40% from sort of up to the event itself on the day, and then going home. On the way, like just in the using it at lunchtime and whatnot. But what I did find, what I did think it would be very useful for, particularly, was for you, Spartan, in the sense that you could see where people were. And from a photography point of view, I think that's invaluable
It's
because
so useful. Because I feel like I've got not many pictures of this person. Where actually are they? And look and go, oh, they're actually right in the middle of a skirmish. I kind of, where can I get? And I know the site well enough now to go, oh, they're there. I can probably get from this angle.
Yeah.
And start climbing through shrubbery and climbing through trees so we can have fun on the count.
Or
yeah.
I mean, one
try
thing
and
that
get obviously
maybe
the best shots I can.
one thing that maybe you could have used it better for was to not absolutely have your soul leave your body when you came across a wild
had
rogue
I checked
Boneheed
at the
in the
time,
middle
that
of
would
the
have
field.
helped me. Yeah, it would have helped me loads. Absolutely loads. I would have known exactly where you were, not come around the corner going.
You're so quiet, stood there.
I'm in stealth mode because my blaster's jammed, so I'm on a pistol now.
Stealth ears is the best. That's all going to be on camera. However, also some players should not sit with their blasters resting at chest level coming off at anything that walks around the corner.
You could have been an enemy for all I knew.
So I didn't actually use the app. I'm just scrolling through it now. I'm just like, oh, okay, so that's what you were all talking about. Purely because
I've left them live at the minute as well, so you can go on and replay the events that did work.
Yeah,
so replays on there.
And it was when we came.
Second half of the mornings on there as well.
I did have it downloaded, and I was planning on using it, but when we were choosing teams, I was still loading mags, and you're faced when there was exactly 2 app users on each team. I just like, I'm not going to touch this. I'm not going to ruin his day.
But like we say, it's something that is dead useful. I know things like the dice game, and that's, I think, how we look at putting the asymmetrical game types in, is not just utilizing props, because the more props we have, the more props I've got to store them, and the more I've got to try and inflate them, which thankfully I'll save the day with an electric inflatable piece, so I didn't have to do that by hand this time. Normally you'll see then I'm sat with a pump for about 2 hours to get the dice ready. But I guess you add an extra little gameplay and having the domination zone sit within the app, so you're almost always winning points, and it just adds, like I said, it's that extra layer.
I think you've got to try out different ideas, and not everyone's going to succeed, but everyone's going to be useful to help you understand
Yes.
what works.
That's
If you
exactly it.
get it right from the word go, you never learn. And I would genuinely say that I would I would say that, yeah, even if we're not necessarily using all of the functionality of it, I do think it adds something to the experience. But I think the whole idea of having to periodically check my phone, yeah, I can see why folk wouldn't necessarily want that. But
Yeah.
just passively contributing to the replay or passively contributing to your awareness of wherever players are, yeah, fine, fantastic.
Little things like if you even passive play, you could be going through domination great fields and gaining points, building
Yeah.
points up. I think Simon commented on the Discord before he got a load of points in the last game day just by sitting and guarding one place, and it just stacked up points for that team. Again, wasn't actively using it. Put on about map, locked it, put it in his pocket or in his pouch and his vest. Off you go. It is, I think, from a user perspective, I think you guys probably have the easy bit of you just log in, this is my team, battle map, lock and go.
Yeah. I mean, you can
The
passively
challenge is
use it, I
setting the side
suppose.
up.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it to see where your teammates are, so you can like rally
Yeah.
charges and things like that with it. But again, it's whether you're willing to have your phone out and whether you're willing to risk your phone taking a 200 FPS dart to it, which
Well,
a
that's
lot of
it.
people won't be. But also, a lot of people might find that distracted. I'm just in there happily walking around shooting at things and scaring James to death. I think it's good. It definitely has its uses, particularly from your perspective, and it will also help from a player perspective. But again, it's depends on how much the players are willing to use it.
I think your player use becomes, if we did say July, we have 16, 18, 16 plus players, shall we say. Even if we have more than 20 and we still use the app, yes, you have to pay, but it's not a particularly expensive thing to run with multiple
Totally.
players with more than 20. Under 20 is free. As soon as you hit 20 and above, I think it's something like 50 cents. It's in euros and cents per player. So it's not a deal breaker. It's definitely not a
No.
game breaker and definitely not a bank breaker.
No.
Because again, kind of the money you guys are paying would then just be helping to cover and support that piece essentially on there. If you're doing a big pushback like that, I think then it becomes maybe a bit more useful on a tactical approach of seeing where your team is, where people push, and do I want to have a quick check in when I'm about to respawn? I'm going to have a quick check. Oh, that's where we're pushing. Okay, that's when I go towards. It's site-wide games. I think that's when it becomes more a useful tool. Even if you've got, say, a couple of captains or a couple of squad leaders within the teams who have more access and check essentially as they're going through, that kind of thing becomes, I think, a bit more of an interesting field of play.
Yeah. Now, just because we're getting towards the time when James will have to leave us, is there any closing thoughts whilst we have him just now about it? Because, like, for example, I know Ben's been sitting there quite quietly, working in the shadows. Chance to chip in, mate.
I mean, in the end, the whole time using the app, for instance, I was thinking that it would work better site-wide thing.
Yeah.
In a way, I feel as though even the larger areas, one of the bigs, you're still close enough to your teammates that you generally don't need to view where they are. Whereas if it was across the site-wide thing, it would promote some kind of comm system, whether it's radios or
Discord chat's getting used more and more, is it, for
comms? Yeah. It promotes something like that, and I've always I've had the idea in my head of having a commander, so to speak, who just sits towards like one of the kind of rear lines, staring at the app and talking to teammates, and owning just a little drone. I thought, oh, I wonder if I could send a drone up and give comms knowing where my teammates are on the app and stuff like that.
I mean, you're laughing. That was when my first idea when I set the app up was that it'd be really cool if you had two fortresses set up with your commanders in, and they almost control where people are going.
Yeah, I think the app would work a lot more beneficially in that kind of scenario. Obviously, using it how it was for working out where people are to take photographs, that's always a bonus. But I think following the spirit of what the app was made for, I think it almost requires a site-wide area.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sort of looking at the replay just now, and that's on maximum zoom, and you can just get the big 5 in shot.
Yeah.
Because it
It
is
could
always.
use. I've always said it could use a bit more zoom.
Yep.
Would be great if you could zoom in just even another.
It's
tiny
the
bit
same
more.
on Google Maps though. Like when I'm looking at the site now on Google Maps on my PC, like I can stare at the whole site on one monitor. Like I can't zoom in enough, and I think a lot of things follow the same thing. I'm assuming it wouldn't
Yeah.
surprise me if Airsoft Run runs on Google Maps, and therefore
It's something very similar. Yeah.
So-
OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap
That's
and
how it uses.
Mapbox.
Yeah.
I mean, the key thing with that for me is it's an Airsoft app. It's meant for
It's
games
designed for
that are-
much bigger.
Yeah, things that
Yeah,
shoot
yeah.
a lot further than what we got, us guys use. So I think that's the issue with it. But I think it's got its merits. It's also got its flaws from our hobby. But I definitely think it's worth persevering, if only just to give James some better photo ops. For me. And again, we've not explored the full functionality of it either. For my money, there's a lot of stuff that we could probably do with it, given a bit more thought and a bit more prep time. But again, that's one for Spartan
That's one
to
for me to sit
look
on
into.
and figure out a bit more.
No pressure.
The switching phases as games end. When you were saying you feel a vibrate when it's kind of switching games, I do find really useful as a geo, because it's really easy to go, I forgot to put a timer on. How much time has passed?
Yeah.
That kind of keeps you right and kind of vibrates and goes, right, time for the next game. Here we go. And it's now, we learned that lesson, and the first time we used it, we go, okay, don't run the games back to back. Put essentially dummy games in with about 5-10 minutes to give us time to do a brief, quick sweep, get yourselves back up. It vibrates. I say go, blow the horn. It vibrates. I say stop, blow the horn again. So it becomes a much easier flow. And again, it means I can kind of spend more time going, where are you guys at? And kind of get those good photos for you instead of going, what time is it? How long have I got time?
And
So
you
there
can
are
see if anyone's anywhere near
techniques.
the tree as well.
Yeah.
What's that, sorry?
You can see if anyone's near the tree.
You can see if people are near the tree, yeah, or in the tree.
5.
I mean, I was just looking at that was my face. I was sort of scrolling. I was just like, what the hell is Boneheed even doing? And I'd assume it's some form of dart sweep.
Possibly. It depends on the time. I was all over the place, to be honest. I went back and forwards to do the spawn point in the first game because I had a jam in my Steven.
So only the afternoon is visible, I will say,
Only
on the
at
app
minute,
right
yeah.
now.
I haven't revealed the other one again yet.
Yeah, could have been dart sweep, could have been some sort of ritualistic yoga type, dancing to the music at the event next door, for all I know. I've slept since then, Joker.
Yeah, like you just went up through the convoy into the CQC area, like.
No,
I
that sounds like
suspect-
just jumped a little bit, which it
I
does
suspect
sometimes
that's
jump
the-
and then
yeah.
jump back again.
That's likely the location tracking not being spot on. I know in the first event we used the app, Al was having a lot of problems. His phone was not showing him anywhere near where he actually was.
Yeah. But Al managed to get it
it's-
working on his new phone this time, and it ran a lot smoother.
Yeah, I think it all depends on your network and potentially the how good your phone is at the actual GPS tracking.
Yeah,
the better the
now,
technology.
No, I'm sort of doing it slower. Yeah, you do just sort of leap in straight into an active runway.
That would be at RF Dishforth.
Yeah,
you definitely weren't there.
Oh, was
oh no! It's
Oh,
like
right.
boing, boing.
The interesting thing will be on the app. If we should have left it on really, because then you would see people disappearing off the site to go at the festival for drinks and then coming back again.
Are we talking about Outlander here? During
Outlander
lunchtime?
disappearing off and coming back with a pint. And we're like, what? You just walk around and walk back. We did have the beauty of essentially.
It's the fact that he only picked up beer for himself. He didn't like
He
bring
didn't
back
ask
one
anyone
for
else
everyone.
wanna
No,
go.
it's just like, I have a pint. Like, are you planning to share? Yeah. Rude. You know.
Last bit I'd like to cover off if we can, to be fair, before I do have to shoot off. How did we feel about the more shields on the site? Because there was a lot more shields, and shields become more and more common. I'm noticing across nerf, across the board. People are starting to utilize shields and shorter blasters more as a way to try and beat the range and get in. How did we find that? Because obviously there's always you lack mobility with the shield, depending on your shield.
I
mean,
actually have got a lot of thoughts on that. There's somebody that essentially had run almost the entire event with a shield. I genuinely have got a lot of positive things to say about that, and not just for what it means as a player, but what it actually brings to the hobby, how it can influence how people play. I genuinely think that shields, I know mine's was a large shield, and people could possibly say that was a bit of a bias, but I think shields genuinely bring so much to the hobby.
I
yeah,
agree.
it generally made me think about what I brought out. I mean, the first couple of games, I got my Mighty Mama attached to my Seagull, and I soon realised that was accurate for about 3 feet after hitting, I think it was Big Al square in the nuts from 2 feet away, and he didn't even feel it. I think there's definitely a place for the shields, but I found in the later games, just switching to full auto and aiming for the feet was as effective as, using a different ammo type, or as I'm sure.
Call that a trade?
Trade. Well done.
How did you shoot David? Well, he had a shield the size of a dinner plate, so I shot him into legs.
Yeah.
Or, as I'm sure Ben will attest to, just lob a grenade. Yeah. There's beautiful footage. I don't know if David will have it in the clips that I took where we're discussing shields before one of the rounds. Spectre says my shield tactic for David is just shoot where the shield isn't. And then Ben says, yeah, I've got shield piercing. I've got one there. I've got one there. And I've got one on my side. And it was just great to see that everyone just kind of ignored the Mega or the Mega XL and just went with grenades, which I think is what I ultimately ended up doing too.
Has anyone got shield piercing, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 on my front and 1 on my side.
I've got grenades, yeah. But
I got 2 grenades on it. Also,
That's all he needs.
everybody that's there that has a shield
It's Al.
is Al and David, and
Yeah.
neither Al's is smaller than that. So
Yeah, my shield piercing for Al goes like that.
my shield piercing for David goes, you're not paying attention, I'll shoot you where your shield isn't.
Yeah. he still has feet, dance boy.
I know when I'm against shields, I tend to go straight for a grenade because if there's one shield user, there's probably a couple of other people behind it. So you're gonna, if you're using a Mega or a piercing ammo type, you hit the shield, and what happens is you get 2 people pop up.
Yeah.
Either side of the shield, and you're like, okay, I'm still covering that. With at least your grenade, you wipe in that area.
Well, that's it. Grenades are so useful because you don't have to hit the shield. You just have to land it in a 10-meter diameter circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long
just
as
land it at the feet and they're dead. Yeah. It works.
Yeah, because go ahead.
I was just gonna say that grenades, I feel, is so much better because you can use them against non-shields as well. You can drop them around corners, whereas Mega doesn't have. Well, Mega's just a dart.
Can't curve a Mega, can you?
No, exactly.
I mean, that said, I do think there was definitely some brilliant use of Mega and Mega XL at the event. I know David tagged me at least 2 or 3 times with his Pico Booper or whatever he was running on his Nightingale. So there were some absolute brilliant shots with the Mega and the Mega XL and the piercing types. I just think, had I done the event again, I probably wouldn't have bothered. I would have probably just taken grenades. And it worked. But again, I also switched to full auto a lot of the time, particularly with some of the smaller shields, people like Aiden and Al that had got, not the gigantic shields that David had got. The full auto just sufficed anyway. So I think it depends on the shield user themselves and how they use that shield as to how effective it is.
You've got two scenarios really we had on the day. We've got David who had the big riot type shield, which is knowingly a tactical jog pace shield. But you couldn't sprint with that without getting shot anyway, because you've got to move it to one side. You can't sprint straight at. You can leave so much on display. And then you've got like Aiden and Al who run the buckler type shields, which you got to see the dart coming and physically move sometimes to stop it hitting you. So you kind of got to work. I've always looking at events and having used buckler shields, I always think shields are always on a double-edged sword. You can block. 1, you got to make sure you're blocking the right ammo type and not just dodging a Mega. 2, you gotta work hard to make sure you can block the darts coming at you, and there's always that chance that you're gonna miss anyway. And you always have a flank.
Let's not forget as well, the bigger the shield, the smaller the blaster you're able to use. Because I would
Yes.
imagine with something like the shield David was using, you're going to be limited to two-handed rifles, particularly if you're using a Springer. And I know David
You're not
was
going to be
running.
able to use this. I mean,
No.
we've seen Al use his buckler in the spring, and he kind of, that's why he has the buckler version, so he
Yeah.
can reload it and go through.
Yeah. But
You
with a
say
riot
that
shield,
as
I know
well.
David runs a Harrier. He, and that works because it's single shot. You don't need to reload. You don't need your second hand. You can just, fire with one hand, have your shield with the other. So that works. Sorry, Ben, you were
Yeah,
going
that's
there.
all right. I was going to say, you say that, it limits the blast you can use, but there's Aiden with his small Captain America shield rocking only a jury all day.
Yeah.
And just
yeah.
getting
just
good
going
hits.
for it.
But
I was
that
impressed with him.
does lean very heavily into the mantra, which is 90% player, 10% gear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Aiden's fast and maneuverable.
Yes,
other people
he's
with
also
shields
about
don't
half
want
my size.
to. Yeah.
Okay, I part of why I think this is going to sound really weird until sort of or maybe it won't. I actually think playing against a shield user makes you a better player. Okay?
You have to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to aim. You've got to think about where you're aiming. You've got to think about, do I switch to a different ammo type? Do I grab a grenade? And all of that while you're potentially taking fire.
Yeah. Now, I know that we've said that, if it's a choice between taking Mega XL, Demolisher rockets, we had various rules on the day, the difference between piercing and breaking. And grenade essentially counted as piercing. So in other words, you tagged the player, but it didn't break the shield for the remainder of the game. Unless you're rocking something like Ben's blank firing grenades with multiple caps, so you could just pick it up, twist it, and it was live again. For something like the Fulcrum Airsoft ones, that there was a lot of them on use, okay, they're not quick. They are quicker than an FIB one to reload if you've got the spare the spare sort of dart carriage for it, okay. But you're still talking 30 seconds of your time, okay, downtime. So, and they're very good, but they do not have a 100% trigger rate.
No grenade does. I've never seen a grenade without.
No.
Apart from, I'm going to say Ben's time Dynatex.
Yeah.
You know that's going to go off, but normally you go, hasn't gone. Oh, it's that one. And then it goes off.
And then
on that before.
And then on the other end of the scale, I've got 4 AirTac grenades that didn't even come out their box, because they were the sort of first ones to hit the market. But now with FIB made improvements to that design, the Fulcrum Airsoft ones, and then the sort of increasing adoption of blank firing grenades, I'm just sitting here going, do I even bother with these? They're great for, I would use them in the CQC area, for example.
Yes.
Where I've got a wall that I can bang them off of.
Yeah, but you can kind of throw it realistically as hard as you can at the wall, knowing it's probably going to go off.
Yeah, you much more need a wall than a floor to get those to really go on, which is my preferred method of using is actually to roll them at a wall at Nerf Mania events.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to rely on the floor, because the floor is usually soft or wet or anything, whereas walls are generally solid.
Yes. Makes a difference.
But it is something that's interesting about the Fulcrum grenades is they did seem super reliable.
Yeah, I had a few failures this time, and it was mostly because I'd forgotten to put live caps in them. But there were a couple of times where I'd thrown them, they were live, and they just simply didn't go off. So you do, as you said, there's never a 100% success rate with grenades. One thing I will say though, the CQC area with the BFG grenades, having been in there when Han got too directly at his feet, that's not a pleasant experience. They are very, very
If I remember that though, that was a malfunction on Ben's grenade. Didn't you always fire a couple of caps at once?
Yeah, mine are infamous for firing sometimes more than one blank.
Yeah.
It got
and that was because I thought that was particularly loud.
Yeah, and I think he got another
mine's
one
an old
shortly
version
after
of
as well.
Ben's.
So yeah,
that's a trait of the Quakes. Quite a few people have reported when you research them that the Quakes can quite often fire and detonate multiple blanks with one strike, because the hasn't got enough porting and release for the blast, as it were. So it spreads across and ignites a couple of the other caps. Or, yeah.
I mean, that is one of the questions I have about blank firing grenades is, are the blanks easy to get hold of? Because I found caps are.
Yeah.
I found caps are. I mean, obviously.
Now we're predominantly using 209s, which are basically shotgun cartridge primers. They are very, very easy to get hold of. Is it Adam that owns the site, James?
Nathan,
who manages the site,
Nathan
and
himself,
he gets access to them and can bring them down to sell as well.
Yeah, Nathan himself has brought them before now. I believe it was either £8 or £9 for 100.
That for 100,
which is
great price.
on par with online, but pretty much any online airsoft site will be able to sell you the 209 primers. The 9mm now are no longer, or very, very hard to get hold of.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that my AirTac grenades don't get as much use as they should, because I've actually found it really hard to get hold of the 8-shot caps.
Yeah. We've found here at FIB when we were testing the FIB grenades, and Smith Toy Store used to be the best place to get them and the most reliable, but then they started getting a bit scarce. So we started looking around various other places on the internet, eBay, etc., and we were finding when we ordered, I think we ordered 2 or 3 lots in from various other sources, and we were finding that the performance, or should you say, and the noise level you get from the same red plastic 8-ring cap varied massively depending on the manufacturer and where you got them from. So that's also worth considering as well, depending on where you're getting your caps from. But Smith's, the brand that Smith's getting seemed to be the most. I believe that's the one. Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know, but we've got.
It's the German brand is actually the better one. I can't remember what the name of the German brand is. I don't speak German, but you can get them from various online retailers. I have found though that even the ones that aren't super loud with the fulcrum grenades, because it's firing all 8 at once.
Yeah, makes up for it.
It doesn't matter because you've got 8 going off at once instead of just one.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot more noticeable in our older. In the FIB grenades, the old nades and dong nades, etc., the various different integrations and stages of that grenade development, as Ross has tweaked and changed, etc. Yeah, that did matter more and was a lot more noticeable because obviously you were using one cap. Now we've started printing. Well, we bought the files, so we were allowed to print for ourselves due to the licensing, how it works. Obviously, Ross has gone overboard and printed multiple. Now they're firing all 8. Where you're getting from and should we say the standard of the bang isn't quite so critical, because obviously, like you say, as you said, Bonehead, you're igniting and setting off all 8 at once. Which, when you get a really good batch, they're almost just as loud as your 209 primers.
Yeah. Well, so that's one of the advantages of the AirTac grenades is they can run from anything from 1 cap loaded all the way up to 9. 1 in the center plus a full ring around the outside. And they actually have porting so that the blast from the 8, if you put them in the opposite way up, you get a bit of a flash, as it were. That's what AirTac, or Vinkmar, I believe, was the original designer, referred to as the flashbang mode. And it's not even a bright flash, it's just a nice pop.
It's just nice seeing the primers detonate sometimes.
You just get a blink of flame. But that's also something I want to bring up was because Dishforth as a site has a mixture of indoor and outdoor areas, players carrying a mixture of grenades then becomes a bit of a necessity, because sometimes your cap grenades, I mean, I didn't see any fulcrum. I heard them go off, but I didn't actually get to see any in action of the fulcrum ones. And they're generally loud enough to get the point across, because AirTac's 9 are exactly the same. I usually load mine to 3. Or in a stack of 8, I'll have 2 3s and a 2. But
I know when we started that event, Ross had 8 of the newer style fulcrum grenades, and 2 broke whilst being used, and he left with 6. And as far as I'm aware, he doesn't normally use grenades. He'll admit that himself. But he was flinging grenades there, and everywhere.
He was throwing a few around on Saturday.
It got me at least twice with them. Yeah, absolutely. I think those grenades are great. I mean, I've still got the 4 that I bought. They're still going strong. The first one that I used was at the last game, and then I've used the new 3 and the first one at this game. They're all still okay. They've got a few dings on them. They've got a few muck marks and whatnot, but they're still working. They're still priming. Yeah, well, you're throwing them on hard concrete and they're made of plastic, so they're going to get scratched.
Throwing them at things. So it's going to. Since, like you say, the Ross had 2 that failed. They failed. They broke. They snapped the print. But again, it's to a certain extent, it's to be expected. You're throwing plastic at walls, concrete floors. So you're going to get a failure. So
he's probably already printed more, isn't he?
Wouldn't like to say.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of
Ross
those
is going to
things.
come back in July just with no blaster, just grenades everywhere. Like, I'm ready to go.
Grenadier
I mean that was always the thing. Like with Blind Geeks events at Kill Factory, which is where I sort of started using these grenades. At Kill Factory 6, it was like, okay, I'm going to allow whoever shows up with a bandolier of grenades to just breach the limit, because anyone who has that much deserves to just run riot.
I've always said, particularly for Dishforth, I've never had a limit on grenades. I think if you enjoy throwing them, throw them around. But you also know, and you've all played on it, there are some areas in buildings where you go, your grenade's got to be in there to get you started to start trying to flush people out. You need a way of doing it, same as smokes.
Yeah. I mean, on that subject, we did have a moment on pushback, and I got it on camera, fortunately. Spectre was kind of leading the charge for that game. He'd taken very much his commander role in that. And he basically looked around and he said to all of us, and I'm pretty sure Ben was there as well, right, this is the last push, guys. Let's just go in. Let's just blitzkrieg them. And it was basically engage grenadier mode. So everyone that had got grenades just kind of primed them all before we went in. It failed miserably, and we were still there a couple of minutes later. But the idea was everyone just go in and lob your spicy avocados in and see what happens. And we got a couple of people. I think David Shield maybe deflected 5 out of the 6 grenades we threw in, because they all landed in front of the bar in a nice, neat little line. But it was a tactic we tried.
There is on video. There is somebody lobs in one of your spoon model ones. Okay, somebody lobs it in, and they lob it in quite enthusiastically, so it clears the bar. Okay,
and it doesn't go off,
and it lands like at my feet and at Blue's feet. Okay, and we're just sitting thinking, that just happened. Grab it. Okay, so we don't launch it back in. We'll launch it out like a minute or so later. Okay, but it doesn't go off again.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's one of the things where I think, did you actually load that?
So
I want to say that's one that wasn't loaded, was it?
Yeah, that would be one of the squibs. It went off. It absolutely went off. The primer had gone down, but I must have put either old caps or forgot to reload it or swapped for one of the carriages that had already been blown and had not swapped the cap rig from. So yeah, that's the inexperience of youth, I think, there. Or
what I done was I had, because I was wearing cargo shorts on a day, I had in my right pocket, which was the live ones, and the left pocket was my dud ones. So basically, once I opened up, what are we just, because I bought them. You got 2 when you purchase it, and I bought another 6. So I essentially just loaded them all up at the start, and just when I was reloading, I just made sure Conscience Engine transferred it from one to the next. So when mines didn't go off, it wasn't due to that. It was due to, or in one case, actually forgetting to arm it. Because I picked it up and it's still in safe mode. I'm like,
hang on,
that's on me.
You said you got 8 grenades?
No,
8 of the dark carriages.
Sorry, I was about to say, like, how much
instead of
money
having
do
to put all new caps in, you just swap the carriage out.
Yeah, so when you unscrew the grenade, there's a little sort of coin-sized thing that you
because I
put your caps onto, and then you drop that into the grenade, and that's what the the spring
Yeah.
actually strikes, and that's what sets the caps off. So you do get, I think, like as David said, I think you get 2 with each grenade, and then you can buy additional ones from the Fulcrum website. So, and I did similar, but I didn't have the forethought to not mix live ones and dead ones. And that's what happened there, and that's why I had that failure. But it's an event for the
from
game.
a game, but
it's
from
fun.
a video perspective, it was phenomenal. Just that,
Yeah.
oh crap! And yeah, I did catch the blitzkrieg moment where you all run in.
Yeah.
And it was glorious to watch you just all run in and just like Darren hiding in one
annihilated.
corner in complete shadow, right? Al sitting in the other corner in shadow, and what it was Blue, myself, and who else was it? I can't remember. Off the top of my head, I can't
Ross, or that would have been Ross. Ross would have been
Ross
running
was
around.
outside the building. Yeah, Ross was hiding.
Yeah, but it was genuinely right. We were just all of us walk. You just run in, and it's just like 3, 2, 1. Just so, it was glorious to watch.
Rush one.
But yeah, one closing thought, because I'm very, very well aware that we have we have kept James far too long.
I will have to jump off in a minute, yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that Spectre said during the Maryland Mayhem episode was that if you were not necessarily an individual who was particularly able-bodied, or you had some form of disability or whatever, so it was basically for whatever reason, once you became a zombie, if you weren't able to do the zombie horde thing, there was things that they had, which was like puzzles that players could do, and it would give zombies power-ups. Okay, I'm not saying that we would incorporate those into the Dishforth games. What I'm saying is a shield would be a great way to encourage somebody who is maybe not as able-bodied. Okay, to means, hey, doesn't matter if you can't run, okay, or maybe you've got a whatever sort of disability or mobility limitation, whatever else it's called nowadays, because I'm not particularly up to date with these sort of things. PC, yeah, exactly. I don't want to be non-PC, but basically whatever it's called nowadays, okay? Like if it's a case of, you know what, if strapping a bit of, perspex to your wrist means that you can join in and have as much fun as everybody else 100%. Can, go for it, and I, like I said, I felt a whole lot less inclined to try and run between cover, so I could just quite happily walk around. And yeah, sure, somebody might take the time to tag me, but I can think of at least 3 or 4 times when people spotted me and done a center mass shot out of reaction, and it pinged off the shield.
And it's so satisfying.
Think, I think there was Ewan. He just sort of appears and just instantly just snap fires at me. And you ding, ding, ding. And I'm like, dink. You go, bye-bye.
Shields are really useful in the pushback type games as well, though, because they provide a way of almost trying to close some distance.
Yeah.
Again, obviously depends on how one thing's being fired. But even then, you have that couple of seconds where people go, shield, I need a grenade, or shield, I need to switch blasters, of getting that a little bit closer and getting that kind of pushed in a little bit.
Yeah, because there's a lot of times that people would see me coming and then duck ground again.
Yeah.
So
I did that.
To me, if it helps level the playing field, if it helps encourage people to join in, regardless of their skill or ability level, then good idea. That would be my sort of that would be the one thing that I would have wanted to make sure I actually mentioned just now, because I thought it would be. I mean, one of the things I'm always super proud of is how accepting the sort of nerf community is in the UK, regardless of what your personal choices are. Okay, for your life or whatever else is. Okay, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, are you going to take your tags? Yes, cool, you're on my team. That's it, okay? We are so open and accepting about that. But I do feel that maybe sometimes helping people that are not necessarily as able-bodied might be something that we could try and do. Or not. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. 6, you know.
7, said 3 earlier. 7, 8 now. Ah!
Oh, I haven't even been keeping count myself.
You can all slag me off
we
and
are-
go on about the trees, it's fine.
We are going to have to explain the tree at some point, I'm sure.
Yeah, we are. But what I will do suggest is, if we are all done with the first half, I think we should let James go and do his vaguely responsible parenting thing.
Boo! Boo!
Yeah.
Be irresponsible. No. Okay.
Responsible? Hang on. There's parenting, there's responsible parenting. I don't think I fall in the second cat. Parenting, yes. Responsible
No,
parenting,
yeah.
no.
No one of us here will ever qualify for the responsible parenting category. You know.
Oh, hell no.
Darren can't. Darren's like, I'm just going to print off some more Nerf blasts and say, you test that. Probably not going to hurt you.
Don't point it at your face, you'll be fine.
I cannot confirm or deny that we have used the children to test blasters.
Just make sure you point it that way, and if it starts to burn, move your head. Don't drop it though.
So here's the thing, I'm just like talking of testing stuff. I was told you could find the files for the Fulcrum Airsoft stuff, because obviously FIB seemed to have the files for it. Yeah, and I've not found the files.
Ross has bought a set of the files, which if you go on any of the printing sites, etc., the licensing, and there's obviously different levels of licensing. That particular level that the chap that makes them has set it, so you buy the files, you can print as many as you want for yourself. You just can't sell them. So
Yeah,
we can print them, and we can print them for anybody. Obviously, they would have to buy the files first. I can't remember off the top of my head how much the files are.
I was told I was told £15, and they're apparently on Cults 3D, but I just can't find them because I'm a chimp.
I think they're on the actual Fulcrum website, Joker. From what I remember, he has set up his own website. That's where I bought mine.
I mean, I'm looking at the mobile version. What I was going to say is, and this is where I just look at Spartan and go, "Oh, please no," but at the same time, "Oh, please yes." The guy has a line of landmines.
Done.
We had noticed this, yes.
Yeah,
we had.
And you know, there's in the Discord chat about a certain mortar system that Al has.
All I wanted to do was huck a Vortex Howler at David.
So I don't know about that bit, because I've discussed they can go to
bring
some
it to the next
force.
event. We will let you do that regardless of whether or not it's involved in the game. I just want to see that on footage.
What I would say is the increased use of grenades, the increased use of tactical play generated through the games at Dishforth. I'm not opposed to landmines. I'm definitely not going to say no until we try it.
Tripwires, please no.
And a little bit of me would be, if he has a range of landmines that do the bangs, God, that'd be hilarious round a corner. Especially in the more open field sites. If you can find it again in the more open field areas of the site, good luck. All right, maybe put a tag on it or something so you can find it again somewhere.
Yeah.
Air tags or something.
So air tag or something so you can find it, or even just a beep on it. But you know what? If they're out there, we never know till I try them.
Yeah.
And if Al doesn't bring the mortar at the next game, I'm going to be disappointed.
I certainly want to. I will not be disappointed if I'm taken out by a whistling mega dart from several feet in the air. I wouldn't even be mad. It would just be. I can't. Yeah,
they're great. They're great.
I'm just going to respawn.
There's a few different things we've had. We've used. I don't know if you've seen like the Zing bows with like the big foam arrows. They're hilarious. We've had them on site before. I've still got one of the old ones and a few arrows. And again, it's the fact that if you can hit someone with it and it's whistling past, fair play. Absolutely fair play.
The thing about Zing bows, though, is that they can go straight through wood if you prime them hard enough.
Yeah, we don't have them find that hard. Like we shorten them so you can actually get distance, but they definitely didn't go that far, not that hard.
Oh
But
yeah, it's one of those things that like I've seen as like it was in another server years ago. It was like, oh, why are Zingbo's banned? And someone just showed me like Zingbo out of the like just literally takes it out of the box, bam, straight through a wooden door.
yeah, I've never seen one go that hard.
It's just like, okay,
And
then.
I utilize actual bows and equipment, and we've never had one go that far. Though I'm sure Ben's been on site when I've ran an actual bow with
Yeah, that was back in 2020.
What's that, sorry?
That was like back in 2020,
Back in 2020. That might have to come out again. There was a beautiful clip somewhere of me getting Andy round the corner because I bounced the elbow around the corner to get him. You
I
can't
think
do
there's
that.
actually a picture of you wielding it.
There's a few pictures of me wielding it. That
We
might
have a
just have to
special
come out
guest,
for an
guys.
event. What's that, sorry?
The ginger moron has appeared. If you didn't just see my cat appear onto the camera there.
We did
Not
not
stream.
know. We didn't
Ginger
catch it.
moron.
Yes, my cat.
Sorry, you're going to have to talk to my hand because I need to look round my ring light to see if there's. I can't actually see my own monitor.
But
That's
no,
why I'm
like
looking at my phone
if
so
we
much.
find like essentially bang landmines, I'm game 100%.
I
Joe
would
is
be
now
very.
thinking I want to go in the CQC and I want to link the other place beforehand. If I could tripwire the whole CQC, that would be hilarious.
If I'm like subtly just scrolling through the list trying to find cap firing ones because the first one I've found fires 40mm Mossgart grenades.
Yeah, maybe
Which
not
are
that one.
Yeah,
That's not.
brutal.
But then if we know the right people with the right kind of technicalities who may or may not be on the call could probably adjust things if possible to fit 209.
Airsoft Sidewinder pattern. Hey, there we go.
No response from Ben
the,
just now because he's currently looking at it on Google. You know,
it's called the Sidewinder and it is invisible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
what's going to happen is
completely
in
invisible.
July, Ross is going to turn up with 3 bandoliers of grenades and 2 satchel bags for landmines to be like, "Are we going? Can we throw things at people yet?"
Yeah, the Sidewinder takes the same thingy caps, but it takes the meteorite cap carriages.
Yeah.
So that is the keyword you're looking for.
So
Yeah.
I'm game with stuff like that. As long as it stays in limits of like the bang grenades and the kind of 209 primer grenades, 100%.
And the
I know there's a
adder,
bazooka mentioned on Discord as well to fire the demolisher rockets.
Yeah, using.
Yeah, I'm game
rocket
for that
mortars.
too. Yeah, that's just why not?
I'm up for that as long as in the safe zone, or at least I'll stand outside the safe zone. That basically hold the shield up in front of me, camera just on top of my head, and just get it coming straight towards
I mean,
it.
like, as long as it's not hard enough to injure people.
We don't want shrapnel, is what we're
Yeah.
saying.
Like it's firing a foam demolisher rocket, which is still quite soft. So as long as it's firing something soft that's not going to severely injure people, that's fine.
Yeah.
That just means that Ben's going to be running around with a bazooka full of stuff like, as a shield, I'm going to break it this time, not just pierce it.
see now you're just tempting me. Like I'm wondering precisely what range. Because I got a bunch of these when B&M were still selling them as Huntsman big bullets. I'm just wondering what sort of range I can coax out of that.
Oh, is that the Hamp one?
No, so it you pump it up and it's got a trigger to actuate. It's not like a
I've got 2 of those. Those are phenomenal. If you put, I think you can get 7 in before the release valve kicks in. Mega XL into that 7.
I believe I actually gave you all of my stock Whistler darts for it at the last TI where we're both at.
Possibly, I can't remember. I haven't actually been into the 100 FPS box in quite a while, because I've got this stuff stored in the garage into 100 FPS and basically what we take to events. But no, I can quite have a look because I think Whistler darts, anything with the Whistler effect, I just think adds so much to it.
Good.
Oh no, like
Dude,
it's
like smoke grenades. It just looks good. Whistle darts just sound good.
Yeah, because that was one of the things I was tempted to do with the darts was actually remove the little Whistler, because it's just on the big bullet at least, the darts it comes with are sort of like little stylized rockets with a little Whistler. It's a plastic piece on the side of the dart head.
Yeah.
So I was tempted to just take a scalpel, detach it from that, hot glue it to the side of a demolisher rocket, and just pew.
Done.
Yeah.
Contact.
for-
If you use contact adhesive, it dries softer than hot glue.
Oh,
And it'll stay on better.
this is much more proof of concept, and I don't have the things anymore because, as previously mentioned, I just threw them at David.
But for David,
Mm.
could now go away.
Also, I've never had any luck with contact adhesive except where it's my fingers contacting each other.
It is an accurate, but it does definitely dry better. Because I know hot glue sometimes dries quite hard. It dries softer. See, you kind of worry of, am I going to hit someone with a lump of hot glue off the edge of this rocket is gone.
Just loading like just hot glue railgun.
Yeah.
Oh,
Where's
that's
Al's motor?
fantastic.
There it is. Let's put some hot glue sticks in there.
I think it's possibly
Napalm
time
for everyone.
It's probably time for a short break.
Possibly time
Yeah.
for a short break.
Okay,
I
time
could
for a
certainly
short break.
do with another cuppa just now,
Yes.
chaps.
But no,
I'm
just
gonna go
to
and feed my
finalise, if you
idiot,
ever
so-
fancy about trying something new at any of the events that I'm running, by all means, pop me a message. Let me know. I'll tell you pretty much straight away. I'll have a bit of a conversation around what you're using it for and what you're doing with it. And yeah, it's
Very
probably going to
brave.
be a yes. I'll probably go, that'll be hilarious. Let's do it.
Let's
see the
And
prompts in Ben's
scare
head now,
someone
can't
up a tree.
try it once.
Yeah. I could plant a sniper up a tree, I suppose. Someone with a Harrier just sitting there popping shots. at people.
Nominate you just to
In
see
a
you fall out it.
country.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I
I'm
would
not
have
even a
find
good enough
sniper
shot.
straight away now.
Anyway.
Let's take a little bit of time out, guys, people, and we'll 5 minutes, and we'll come back for the remainder.
I'll
what
jump off,
stage
guys.
which is
Thank you
going
very
to
much for
be
having me.
not a problem, James. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, as always.
I shall get that JPEG that you sent me edited in, and we'll get that
Perfect.
incorporated
I'm
there.
not managed to get in the photos yet. I'll see if I can get into them tomorrow. I'm not sure because I'm quite busy all week this week again. So
Yeah.
I'll try and get them and I'll let you know.
Basically, there's no priority to get this out anytime soon. I don't mind sitting on my desk for a week or so. I definitely would like to make sure that we can include the pictures, because I think the second part of it is very much going to be talking more about the event in a much more open format. And I would like to be able to factor in those pictures where possible. So even if I just have to hold off on it.
Should have taken a picture of it in the tree.
Yeah.
I think I might have it on
It might be
camera.
on a video camera, yeah.
I definitely passed it because I looked at Ewan and mentioned it, and he was like, "Oh, I think we've got that one," which was another point that made it so hilarious that you guys were all in a tree, because we
And
thought
you
you'd
got
seen that
you
one,
and you and sat there
hadn't.
like,
yeah,
oh, shit,
literally.
I thought we had that one.
Right, I'm going to excuse myself.
Right, yeah, we're taking 5.
See you in a
Yes.
sec, guys.
5.
I will see you all later,
Where
guys.
the hell has mouse gone?
Have a
Right,
good night.
cheers, James. Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.
Sorry, that is an absolutely hideous static image. That is not. No.
Do you still stand by me being creepy when I joined, compared to that?
Oh no, I take that back. I
Yeah,
absolutely
thanks.
take that back. Okay, that's not.
It's a
No.
good one, that, isn't it?
Oh,
Wait,
that's terrifying. That is.
Who's being creepy? Oh, my picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, you love it, really.
No, I
Right.
really don't.
I'm
Catch
going to
you in
go
5.
feed my cat. I'll be back.